The future of work and leadership always starts with us. Welcome to the Dr. Ginny Show. Let's dive in. Well, welcome everyone to the Dr. Ginny Show. I am Dr. Ginny Baro, and I have the pleasure today to have as my guest Dr. Cheryl Robinson. Now, some of you have already heard a lot about her from me because only a few weeks back, I actually recorded a podcast where I spoke about the article that Dr. Cheryl published on Forbes on the new language of leadership. So before waiting anymore, I want you to introduce yourself, Dr. Cheryl, and tell us a little bit about you. Let's start with your journey so far and what has brought you here.
Yeah. Hi, everyone. Thank you for having me. I am really excited, and leadership communication gets me extra excited.
Absolutely.
Yeah. What brought me here? I worked in Hollywood and entertainment for a while, moved over to the consulting side. And as I was consulting, I said, okay, I'm doing this for other people. I can be doing this for myself. And I started an events company. And I thought I was going to be this world renowned events organizer. And what happened was, as I started attending entrepreneurial events, people started asking me, well, what type of events do you want to host? So I started telling them, and they got really excited about it. And my biggest lesson was you really have to pick the partners that you choose to work with. And I picked poorly. It didn't go the way I intended it to. And after a big conference where I did the majority of the work when it should have been a partnership, I said to myself, is this really what you want to be doing the rest of your life? And it was a hard no before I could even finish the question to myself. And I had been speaking since I was 14. My mother's a motivational speaker, and we started doing classes together, and I'm just very comfortable in front of a group audience. So I said, well, I really want to speak and I really want to write. And I had written different pieces, but it was put on the back burner while I was going through graduate school and then my doctorate program. And I said, okay, I'm going to focus 80% of my time on writing, especially if I want to be a New York Times bestselling author. You have to write.
Yes.
So with that, a few months later, I met my former editor at Forbes, and I told her who I was. I explained what I did, my background. I went through this long interview process, and she said, welcome aboard.
Well, that's wonderful.
But then the real question came. She goes, what are you the expert in? And that's a weighted question. And at that time, I was coming out of event planning, sports marketing, and there's thousands of sports marketers out there. There's even more event planners out there. So I said, I really don't consider myself the expert in that. So that made me self-reflect. And I said, okay, I'm really good at failing forward. She goes, I love it, but it has to be more positive. Okay, what does failing forward mean? Well, I'm really good at going from A to B to C to D to E, etc. Well, what does that mean? That means pivoting. So my column started off as embrace the pivot. No one at the time was talking about it. It was pre-pandemic. And I always say,
Until COVID, right?
yeah, I said COVID stole my word because then everyone used the word pivot. And then Embrace the Pivot turned into leadership. And my doctorate is in organizational leadership. And I said, I'm a writer where every word matters. We have word counts. You have to make it matter. And I really like leadership communication because the majority of leaders are poor communicators.
Yes.
And that's how we landed on the article where you found me.
Yes. And then the new language of leadership was such an insightful piece for me because I have been using a lot of the terms that you are indicating are the new language. So,
That's
for
fantastic.
example, Yes, I've been referring to employees as contributors and team members forever. I love the idea of using mentoring versus managing people
Hmm.
because it's so much more comprehensive, right? When you are mentoring someone, you are caring for them, you have their best interest, you want to teach them, you want to support them. So there were so many of the terms that you shared in that article. So if everybody hasn't read it,
Nah,
whoever's listening to this, please go to Forbes and look for the new language of leadership. I think it was April 2025
yes.
that you published it.
Yep.
I also love that going from accountability to ownership. That was huge. Again, back to accountability. It's like you fail at something, so you need to hold your team accountable. First, no, ownership means look, you own this. I want you to run with it. And if you have any issues, come to me and I'll help you.
Yeah. Because when you think of autonomy, that's what
Mhm.
people want. And
Yes.
that goes back to mentoring versus managing. When
Yes.
people say managers, you think of the nice top down and people just clocked in,
Hmm.
at 9, clocked out at 5.
Hmm.
And ownership is actually showing trust in team
It is.
members. It's saying, here's a project, you're going to lead on this. And it gives people the chance to shine as leaders. And then what that does is it says, "Oh, now I want to be accountable. Like I am going to be accountable for this.
Because I
So
own
we
it.
have to make it work."
Yeah.
So just the slight shift in words changes the whole morale and the
Yes.
focus and the determination of the
Agreed.
team.
Agreed. It's just like the energy behind it is so
Mhm.
different, right?
100%. Yeah.
So let's talk about what you're hearing in your circles because you do speak with a lot of people, especially in organizations, other leaders, entrepreneurs. So, from your perspective, Dr. Cheryl, what are some of the top priorities right now for organizations and leaders? What are you hearing?
Top priority is still inclusivity.
Mm,
And I know recently with the political landscape, that's sort of been put on the back burner, but at the heart of the organization, it's still inclusivity. It's how can we involve everyone? And there are times when you can't involve everyone, that slows down your progress. But there are moments when you can. You can ask people, what do you think about this? What's your take on this? And then that moves it along in different direction. AI, who isn't talking about AI. And it's not so much that leaders are going to eliminate positions, but they're going to find people who know how to use AI
correct.
properly. Because you do need people on the back end who know how to prompt and how
Absolutely.
to apply it. So those are the two biggest things that I'm hearing.
So I would love to touch on those a little, just as they say, double click
Yeah.
on those two. The first one was the concept of inclusivity. And when you mentioned including people, and you can include everybody all the time, but I'm a visual person. So when you said that, what I visualized was when you are at the senior leadership level, speaking with executives, being inclusive at that level means really looking at the landscape to see who at that level
Hmm.
needs to have a say in whatever it is that you're trying to decide and bringing them to the table. So that's how you could be inclusive at the executive level. Then let's take it down to the director, VP level. Same thing. It's really how can I be inclusive with my peers? How can I be inclusive of the other directors and VPs, EVPs that would be impacted potentially by the decision that we're making? And then at the manager level, same thing. Because I know for many leaders, when there's a lot of change and transformations and people don't know what is happening,
Yep.
there's a lot of confusion and we tend as leaders to be part of the group of people who don't know what's happening. But people are looking to us for certainty. So,
Hmm.
as leaders, back to the communication issue that you mentioned, how can we still give people certainty even when we don't know what the future looks like? It's to me by being inclusive and letting them know with vulnerability. I don't have all the answers, but this is what we know. And we plan to have a plan by this date. People want to know what's coming.
100%. And also, if you are in an organization where it is top down, which still the majority of companies are still top down management, the inclusivity means too, if you're looking to make changes which cause people to panic in a certain department, and it could just be a change in process or system management, why not talk to the people who are at the front lines of that and say, what would make this better? Instead of leaders trying to guess. And when leaders guess, you waste time,
You
mistakes
make
are made.
assumptions.
So talk to those people who it affects and say, all right, will this make sense to
Yeah,
move forward with this? And if
right.
it doesn't align, what can we make it align, or how can we make it align? And that's where leaders miss the mark.
I agree. Involving people who are impacted
Mhm.
in the solution, it is the best way to get buy-in as well because they
Yeah.
feel they were part of it.
Yeah.
The second piece that you mentioned was AI and becoming a better ally to AI. So instead of thinking that, oh my gosh, AI is going to replace me, and some companies are thinking, ooh, who can I get rid of because I have AI? And other companies, I believe, are getting it right, which is we're not going to get rid of our people. We're going to implement and integrate AI to create efficiencies, and our people will be able to do higher level things. I'm also recommending to all our clients at Executive Bound that we all learn how to leverage AI for whatever role we do so that we could do it smarter, faster, better. I am, let me tell you, I am using it
Yeah.
like a queen, and it's helping me in so many ways. And my clients are benefiting from it because I'm teaching them how to prompt ChatGPT to get answers to the things that we do together.
Yeah. AI is about working smarter, not harder.
Absolutely.
And more leaders that can accept that and adapt that into their processes, they're going to see tremendous growth because their team members or associates aren't going to be focusing on the mundane tasks that take up too much time and are too repetitive. But now it opens them up to brainstorming new products, new services. How can we do sales better? How can we do
Yeah,
marketing better? And
absolutely.
that's where people have to accept that AI is here
Yes.
and it's just going to help you work.
Well, it's funny that you say that because I equate this to when we first got PCs. When I was graduating college in 1991 is when everybody was adopting the PC and working, with a huge monitor on their desk. Remember, like, oh my gosh, the PCs are going to take over our jobs. Well, the PCs are going to help us do our jobs faster, better. And so I think that this is a matter of mindset too, especially depending on where you are and generationally. You may say to yourself, I only have 5 years left of work. Like, what am I doing? And how exciting that you have 5 or 10 years left and AI is here. It's like, wow, I get to learn something brand new. That's a growth mindset, obviously, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. And some people are very opposed to growth.
Yes.
I've worked
And
with a lot of those people before.
yes, yes. And I think that they struggle. They struggle
Mhm,
always because whatever field you're in, if we're not keeping up with the field, which
mhm,
requires growth, you're going to be left behind in the dust. I mean, if you're in marketing and you're still trying to do things the way you did them 10 years ago, you're done. It's just not working anymore. It hasn't worked. So you would have already been pushed out of your industry if you're not willing to evolve. So I love that. And Dr. Cheryl, what have you noticed are some of the misconceptions people have about leadership from what you've seen and heard and experienced?
This is one of my favorite questions because people's perceptions are if you're not in a management or executive or C suite level, you're not a leader. And
Mm.
I argue no matter what level you are at, you are a leader. And I'm going to give you an example. We were at a restaurant and we were waiting for a table, and the hostess was talking to us. She asked me what I did. I told her, wow, you do all this stuff. And then she turns to me, she goes, I'm just a hostess. And I said to her, no, get rid of the just. You are the hostess.
Ooh.
because without you, the restaurant doesn't run. People aren't getting to the tables. So that little shift, and I would love to follow, I wish I could follow up with her and how she just looked at me. You could see the light bulb go off in her head. And she said, "You're right. I'm the one that orchestrates who gets
Yes.
which tables, which servers are working."
Yeah.
And that's what people, no matter what industry, company you are in, you are a leader. A receptionist. I was a receptionist for a little bit out in Hollywood. And you know what? Without me,
You're the gatekeeper.
the clients weren't getting through to the agents.
That's right.
So everyone is a leader. And it's if you can shift that mindset, I think people would take their job way more what's the word I'm looking for? They would take more pride
Yes,
in what they did.
they will feel more empowered in their
Yes.
roles. Yes, I agree 100%. And I follow your philosophy as well. I believe everybody's a leader because even when you don't have people that you quote unquote lead in terms of they report into you, you're leading yourself, right? You're a leader of self. So I love that misconception that, oh, I just do this. Get rid of the just.
Get rid of the
You do
just.
this and you have a pivotal role and that's why you have it and that's why it exists.
Yeah. Yeah.
So let's talk about challenges, priorities, challenges, and opportunities. What would you say, Dr. Cheryl, are some of the biggest challenges that you have observed in today's challenging business?
People are overwhelmed,
Mm-hmm.
and they're so overwhelmed that 42% of people are turning down promotions and raises
Tell me more.
because they do not want the extra work. And it's sad, but we're still in that culture where the only way to get a raise is to take that promotion. There are so many people who are fantastic at the role that they're in, but stink when it comes to people skills. But then the only way to get that raise is to manage people. And I think that's why so many people experience bad leaders, because there are people that, and some will just flat out tell you, I don't want to manage. I don't care about what someone else is doing. I'm good at my job and this is what I'm doing. And the younger generations, mainly Gen Z and the younger part of millennials, are saying no to promotions because the pay does not equate to the extra work that they're going to be doing. And then that ties into AI. If more companies embraced AI, trained their employees on AI, now instead of having a leadership shortage, they're going to have people who are more comfortable leading because they know that the AI can automate a lot of the extra tasks that they're going to be dealing with.
That's a great perspective. And I have also heard from my clients, I don't want to go to that senior level because I don't want to deal with the headaches and the politics.
Yep. Yep.
Let's address the first part, which is the perception of all the extra work. And what's interesting about it is I've shared with my clients as early as yesterday that simply because you're moving up doesn't necessarily mean you want to work another 10 hours because you don't have another 10 hours to work. What happens when you get to that level where you are more senior is that you have a team. And this takes us back full circle to our conversation at the beginning about then creating a team which has ownership. And when you trust, which is something you need to develop as an individual contributor, you don't know anything about delegation. So I think many of us may assume that when we go to that next level or get that promotion, that will come with all this extra work and that we don't have the bandwidth nor the desire to take it on versus thinking, I'm going to get to develop new skills where I am going to now have a team that I develop and that I put in place to do the things that need to be done by my group or my department, and that they will then handle the pieces that they own, and that my job as a leader is to ensure that I remove any obstacles that they have to do their job, that I provide the resources they need, and that I advocate for them with my management team.
Also, though, a lot of times as you move up, you get more clerical work or the more paperwork.
like the
that comes
reviews
with it.
and
And
the
yes.
feedback loops,
Yeah.
and as we would call them, insight loops, since we're not doing feedback. And here's the thing: when you really look at that aspect of the job, which is, okay, now I have a team of 3 people that I need to manage, that I need to mentor, that I need to make sure that everybody's doing the right thing so that we can accomplish whatever our goal is. The paperwork related to your performance review or team meetings that you may have to do, now we can have AI do the team minutes. Like, we
There
don't
we go.
need to sit there and somebody's taking minutes. AI is taking notes. And then at the end, I'm going to say, please summarize the notes and takeaways and action items. And you get your minutes like that, whether you're using Copilot, ChatGPT, whatever tool your company allows you to use. So in many ways, I love that we're having this discussion, Dr. Cheryl, because if the challenge is that I don't want to get promoted because I don't want more work, and we can shift our mindset from, wait, you don't have to do all the work. You're going to have a team of people, and together you're going to do the work. You're going to learn new skills as a leader. You're going to care for your team and ensure that your team has the resources they need. And when it comes to those administrative tasks that you have to do, such as sitting down with whomever to talk about what is your plan for development this coming year, that to me is actually an exciting task. Because think about you as a leader, and this is, as you can tell, I'm a little biased toward leadership. But as a leader, you actually get to help someone drive their career and support them and mentor them and sponsor them and open doors for them and introduce them to other people in the company so they can expand their knowledge and grow within the company. So in a way, back to the thought that Gen Zs are thinking, I don't want that promotion because I don't want to work harder than what I'm working right now. I would invite them to consider the growth opportunities that are available. And so let's go to that question. What are the growth opportunities that you're seeing right now? And I know we talked a little bit about embracing AI and expanding your knowledge about how to leverage it for your role. What else have you seen in terms of growth opportunities these days?
So growth opportunities, it also comes down to your build relationships with. And a lot of times, right, if you think back to our grandparents and parents when they were growing up or within the workforce, it was very siloed. You only talk to the people in your department, or you don't really network as much. But now, because of social media and what the internet has done, people want to be able to develop those relationships with other executives, with people outside their organization, because people pivot 12 times in their careers.
I believe it.
Yeah. And that is the growth opportunity, is the people who you get in front of.
Yeah.
And then those other perks too. It's, what baseball games are you getting invited to? What type of work life harmony, from my article?
Yes.
And people want to know, is childcare provided, elder care provided? What is the flexibility, the work from home? We're seeing a lot of companies now saying you have to return to the office. I have my beliefs around what's behind that, but for a lot of people, working from home makes that work-life harmony so much better.
So much more attainable. And that is where we need to continue to be flexible, I believe, because there are people who prefer the office. They say, like, Ginny, I need the structure. I am a mess at home. I get distracted. I am unfocused. And there are people who can thrive in a hybrid
Mhm.
environment. I'll go in the office 3 days, and then the rest, I don't have to kill myself in traffic. I am much more productive. I'm at my desk early. When I work from home, I leave at whatever time. Actually, most people and most clients, just to give senior leaders a perspective, most of my clients who are work from home, or who, when they work from home, say they work more, much more than when they're in the office.
Yeah. When I'm in the office, I'm the social butterfly, and forget about it. I've worked from home the majority of my career, and I loved it. And when the
Yes.
pandemic hit and no one knew what to do, it's like, oh, I've been doing
I do
this for
this
years.
forever. Yes, yes. I think for many managers who were poor managers to begin with, managing people or mentoring people from home is so much more challenging because there wasn't the connection to begin with. But if you have a good connection with your team, and if you have very clear projects and when things, deadlines and milestones, it's a breeze to be able to manage someone from home. If you didn't do that well, and if you struggle to do that, performance is going to suffer. Productivity will suffer, which to me is the litmus test.
Mm-hmm.
Can you work from home? Well, can you produce from home? And if you can, the answer is yes. Let's continue with our conversation. What role, Dr. Cheryl, do you still see learning and development happy in getting our leaders ready for the future that's already here?
It is so critical. The system is outdated.
Tell me more.
There are some companies, let me rewind a little bit. There are some companies that have embraced virtual reality into leadership development. And I was able to partake in one of these where one person was in the VR headset and you had to diffuse a bomb as your team members were guiding the person in the virtual reality world with the handbook and what wires to cut. That's where it's leading to.
Mhm.
People do not want to sit in another workshop. They do not want to sit in another lecture and have people tell them, meditate, breathe, pause. It goes back to as when we were kids. Kids learn best by playing and doing. So
Mhm.
if we want leaders to advance and we want leaders to be good mentors, we have to start teaching them how to lead differently. Forget what you've learned. And we have to, the L&D comes from the adult play. We have to make it fun and immersive because people, the L&D system is outdated. I, for a little while, was consulting at this company, and every month we had to do these stupid online L&Ds, but it was online and you sat there listening to a video. Next, hit next. Outdated. No one learned anything because they were doing work. And once the video ended, they hit next. And then, so they had the screen open, but they weren't paying attention to
No,
it.
they were doing their work. And we had a roundtable recently, my talent talk roundtable with executives, and that this came up. And that was that we need to evolve the learning and development space. We need to get more creative, and we also need to measure how are people implementing what they learn.
There's no
Right?
follow through right now in
There's no
L&D.
follow through. There's no follow through. And that's why I'm such a huge believer of immersive learning.
Mm-hmm.
There's nothing like more immersive than I'm showing you a concept, then we practice it, then you actually take it back to your team and apply it to a situation that you have and use that framework for a conversation, and then use it and see it like, oh my goodness, it worked. It landed so well, or it made this situation that was high conflict so much easier to navigate. I full-fledged believe in that. And one of the programs that we provide at Executive Bound is called Executive Bound Elevate. And it is an immersive learning with coaching, with online short videos that teach the concepts so that they can then apply them. And then we have group coaching so we can put it into practice and discuss what worked, what didn't work, and we can pivot. It's key. It really is.
It is key. And when you have these old companies that have been around for at least 100 years, maybe a little bit more, it is time that they embrace the new era around them because L&D is very outdated at this point.
Thank you so much for all your insights thus far. Let's go into a lightning round so
All
we can
right.
have a little fun, talk about playing in the sandbox as adults. What would you tell Dr. Cheryl, your younger self, as you started out from today? What would you tell her?
Don't take it so seriously. No one knows what they're doing, even if they say they do. People figure it out as they do it. So don't
Mm.
take yourself so seriously.
And that is such a beautiful piece of advice for your younger self, because you sharing at the beginning your journey of how you started here and you thought you were going to go there, but then things happened and you had to pivot and you ended up here. I think everyone can relate to that. It is not a straight line. There is so much that happens. And I believe in the mantra or the affirmation that things are happening for me, not to me, from Byron Katie. And so if we use that to say, wait, I wanted to get that result, but it didn't happen. So this is happening for me, not to me. What's in this for me to learn?
That's really powerful because then you can see the lesson and then you can apply what you've learned. That is a powerful
Exactly.
mantra.
Yeah. The other one that I also teach my clients is everything works out for us. So whatever this looks like, this is not my reality because ultimately everything works out. And so that also gives you that ability to be more resourceful, to be open minded, and to say, wait, just because I have obstacles in front of me right now, I am not believing them. I am going to find my way. And that has also been super powerful for me and our clients. What about this one? White canvas. If you had no limitations of time, resources, money, or budget, what project would you take on right now?
I would create a school, particularly a university, that immerse the students into real world situations to have them learn. So, my
Amazing.
background is in academia too. I was a college professor, and that system is outdated. And I always thought instead of teaching theory to just the road, like, here's a company, here are your roles, go
Yes.
for it because they learn as they do it. So, yeah,
What a
I
difference.
would love to create a school.
What a difference. When I was getting my MBA, that was when we began to do projects where it was like, okay, here's company ABC,
Mhm.
and these are the challenges, and this is what you're supposed to do, and you're supposed to help them. You are a consultant helping them fix this problem. Can I tell you one of the projects that we did? Back in the day, I forget what year it was, probably toward the end of my MBA. One of the projects was to figure out how to make money, how to earn revenues as a company. And I said, my team came up with a project of what if companies bought arenas like the ones we have in, what is
Mhm.
the name of the town here in New Jersey? We have the huge
MetLife.
MetLife.
Yep.
We have all of these places now that are owned by a company.
Mercedes. Yep.
All of them. The
Yep.
PNC, all the way down at the PNC Center as you go down the
Yep.
shore. So the idea that we came up with from our MBA project actually was implemented. Those are the kinds of things that when you are able to be immersed and use real scenarios, you don't leave school clueless as to what do I do now? So I think your idea is beautiful because it really expedites and accelerates learning for the students. And that's why I also appreciated professors who had real life experience so much because they did bring that real life experience to the
Yeah.
classroom.
Oh, that's a conversation for a whole nother day.
The last one I have for you is what is the best piece of advice you've received, Dr. Cheryl?
Are you ready?
I'm
Here we
ready.
go. Cry me a river, build me a bridge, and get over it.
Tell me more.
We get so hung up on something so minuscule, and it is why. The whole idea behind that is keep moving forward. Because if you constantly are overthinking something or just paying so close attention to one little detail, in the scheme of things, it doesn't matter. So just move on. Cry me a river, build me a bridge, and get over it. Just
Yeah.
keep moving forward.
You sound like my mom's philosophy. My mom is like, just keep going. I'm like, but mom, I want to feel the feeling. She's like, fine, but get over it. That is such a beautiful piece of advice. That goes close to stumble forward, forward. Like keep going. Just keep moving. As long as you get up, right? And keep going. Don't let that stop you. And I was watching on your website, Dr. Cheryl, that you basically were saying something similar, which is just because you have an obstacle in front of you, that does not mean that your vision, your dream comes to an end. It simply means let's figure out a way. What can I do to get around that obstacle and that boulder that's on my way? And that really is the whole point of being resilient and having a growth mindset. So I appreciate so much that we've had this conversation. What has been your favorite part of our conversation today?
I really like how we focused in on the working smarter, not harder. Because no matter who you are, there's been a point in your life where you think, okay, if I work these extra long hours or if I do this, it's gonna be better. Where in turn, you're just burning yourself out. AI allows us to take that step back and say, where can we implement something that will take it off of our plates,
Yes.
give us back an hour of our day, and continue to help us move forward? And
Yes.
that's what I'm so excited about for people embracing AI.
Yes, and we all of us are getting behind it, and we are also recommending that everybody who's listening to us to get curious.
Mhm.
Rather than lean into the fear, lean into the curiosity of what could it look like for me to embrace AI and all the tools available to do my role smarter, faster, better. That's a beautiful way to close.
And leaning into curiosity is future projecting. So that's a great future projection.
I want to thank you for being here with us today and for sharing your wisdom and your insights from your experiences, being a contributor for Forbes, for Women's World, and for pouring into us today. Really
Yeah.
appreciate you.
Thank you so much for having me. This was
Yay. And for all of our audience members who are listening, who are our loyal listeners, please share this with your trusted network, with your LinkedIn network, and help us spread the word. And if you enjoyed it, subscribe and let's be a part of the future conversations that we have. Thank you for being part of this episode of the Dr. Ginny Show. And we look forward to the next one. I have a feeling, Dr. Cheryl, that this is not our last conversation.
I don't think it is. No. There's so much to talk about.
Thank you. Bye, everyone.
Bye. Thank you.
If you enjoyed today's content, I appreciate your review so others can find us and share it with your friends. And to stay in touch, join our community to receive valuable strategies and expert advice at drginnybaro.com. See you soon.